Hey Garth Gang, and welcome back to a Path of Exile heist video. This is a strategy guide. I'm going to cover as many strategies that I can. There are tons of different strategies, and it depends on what league you're in, what build you're running, how you're going to gear your rogues, and ultimately what you want to get out of the heist experience. I'm going to split it down into several different subjects, and we'll go from there. My first disclaimer is I don't have any experience in a hardcore trade environment. If you're playing in hardcore, the builds I have available are hardcore viable. The reason I say that is because once my characters are geared using the builds I supply, they don't die in heist. I've had a few deaths leveling up, but that's due to either my own tiredness or I'm just trying to push the build before it's ready, and other player issues, not build issues. So if you're in hardcore, the builds I have supplied and run that are my builds are hardcore viable. If you're in hardcore trade, I honestly don't know what that trade market is like, so you're going to have to judge that in your own experience and run builds, strategy, etc. The first thing I'm going to say right now is you can league start with a high strategy, or you can do it mid-league. Prices on some things will change. They kind of generally stay round about the same price. Alternative gems and replica uniques are a very fluctuating market. Some of them hold up all the way through the league, others don't, and it is really dependent on what's going on in the market and what meta builds are running. But as the league goes on, the prices tend to stay the same because a lot of players leave PoE as the time goes on in the league. Therefore, people aren't farming as much, but people still want the gems and the replicas to make meme builds or second builds, so they'll still pay the price. It's a very fluctuating market. There's no real answer as to what strategy is most profitable. There is just different strategies, and yeah, you make as much currency as you're willing to invest and spend time doing it. That's the big disclaimer out of the way. So let's get on to the next big topic, kind of controversial. Do you kill Act 10 Katava on a heist strategy build? Yes or no? There's no real right or wrong answer to this one. If you kill Act 10 Katava, you get 2 passive points. Great, fantastic. Who doesn't love passive points? But then you hit a minus 30 res penalty across all 4 res, which makes gearing harder because you're having to either in SSF roll your gear better, or in softcore pay more for the gear that has got the higher resist rolls. A lot of heist builds use a variety of different uniques, limiting rare gear choice, or like Poison Concoction, remove the ability to use items and therefore can cut into your gear selection as well. And it also depends on whether you're running Purity of Elements in the build. If you're running Purity of Elements, then you get that extra resist buff, which almost counteracts the elemental resist penalty from Katava. But that just means you need to invest more in Chaos Resist because you've got an extra 30% to make up. So again, it depends on how much investment you want to put into the gear on your heist character. In one league, I got my main level heist character up to level 93, and I still hadn't killed Act 10 Katava. Gearing was available because I had lots of currency that league. I just didn't bother, and I did perfectly well without it. You make do without the 2 passive points on, and then save money on gear. It's a personal choice that you are going to have to make at the time. if there are certain strategies where you just don't kill Ten Katava anyway, my baby heist strategy, which is level 59 to 60 endless heist, the main endless heist strategy, which is anywhere between 66 to 67, 67, 68, 68, 69, they don't kill Ten Katava either, because you're doing the endless heist loop and there's no real reason to, because you're limited on passive points anyway. It's only if you're going to really, level 80 plus, that you have to kind of make that decision, because you're high-end blueprint forming and every passive point counts. So ultimately it's going to be your decision based on the gearing, the currency you want to put into the build, the gearing you want to do, and whether or not you're running purity of elements. With that in mind, let's move on out of the disclaimers into the actual guide itself. We'll start with, first of all, we'll start with SSF. So if you're playing SSF, usually you have to plan your builds, or try and plan your builds, and what gear you're going to try and get, etc, etc. With Heist in mind, don't build your build around having to have a replica unique or alternative gems. If you're in SSF, that's kind of a bonus. If you're only after an alternative gem, there is possibly a better strategy, which is running high level promenade maps and getting the div card that drops a level 19 quality alt gem. And if you whack enough quant and rarity into that map, then you will drop loads of those cards, and hopefully you'll get it without ever having to step foot into Heist. That's a choice. From my experience of watching SSF players, there tends to be, or can be, a lack of jewelers, fusings, chromes, and other base currency. My level 59 to 60 baby heist strat would suit that perfectly. It's not, all the gear on there is very easy to accumulate, other than the replica conqueror's efficiency, which you can do without. You just get minus manacraft on all your jewellery, and possibly drop on an aura maybe. But that's something you're going to have to decide upon. You'll earn tons of currency, and if you use the chaos recipe tool, then you'll end up turning over tons of chaos for rolling gear and or maps. Just an option for those out there that do prefer SSF for whatever reason, or if you're in a private league or group fan league, I know they're becoming more popular as well. Having someone run a baby heist strategy may well help out the group or the league by turning over that mass amounts of basic currency quite quickly. Other than that, not much more to say on SSF. So we move on to the next topic, which is then going to be trade, or as I say, softcore trade, to differentiate between softcore and hardcore. So let's move on to that topic. So you're playing in trade league. You don't want to go into heist, or do you want to go in heist? What do you want to do? If you don't want to go into heist, pre-maps, that's fine. When you get to Act 6, open up the smuggler's cache, and you can sell that. Especially if you're doing a league start, the contracts, the low level contracts you'll drop will still sell, as will the rogue markers. If you don't block the heist on the maps and still get the smuggler's caches, as long as you never go to the rogue harbour itself, you will not get the green quest contracts. They won't drop. So if you don't want to do the heist strat yourself, you could potentially still leave the smuggler's cache on the map device, on the Atlas passive, sorry, and then turn over the rogue markers and the contracts, and if you're lucky enough, blueprints that you find. If you're going to sell them, then at league start, pretty much any contract will sell, because people need to level up their rogues, and sometimes you might need several brute force contracts to level up one of the rogues to level 5, or engineering. They you know, people still need to level up their rogues, and it's far easier to buy in bulk on trade or TFT Discord channel than to try and farm them yourself. Also, rogue markers, without fail, 50k rogue markers sell for an X or 2, because people run other strategies that require tons of rogue markers, and leaving the smuggler's cache on there with all the stacks of the rogue markers as well will amass a fair chunk of them. You don't have to wait until you get to 50k. You can sell them in smaller stacks than that, but 50k is usually where people like to buy them from on TFT. Same for your contracts. You can just throw them in a tab and sell them whatever price you want, or you can amass quite a lot and bulk sell them. If you are selling them in bulk, ideally you are looking for agility and deception contracts at eye level 81 plus, preferably eye level 83 deception contracts. The higher the eye level, the more rogue markers we heisters can get from selling the artifact at the end of the heist to the fencer in heist. So that's what you can do if you're going to sell them. Well, what about if you want to use them? That's fine. You want a heist strategy to use them. Let's move on to some of the strategies involving in heist, and I've just clicked the wrong button, so let's just clear that so that don't stay on there too long and blind people. There are a variety of different strategies you can run. We'll start with contracts. Running contracts. Now, there are multiple ways of doing this. The first strategy is to run the contract, open up the big chests, and then open up as many chests, small chests as you want, grab the artifact to the end, run out the door, throw all the gear or whatever you've collected into your tabs, and then sell them, and just rinse repeat. All you're doing is running contracts, what you find, if you haven't blocked it off on your map device, or you're running an endless heist strategy as mentioned previously in the video, and you don't want to run blueprints. You're quite happy doing endless heists, and you're running the contracts and you're selling whatever drops. You're bulk selling currency, GCP, you're picking up gems that fall on the floor, so you can get the GCPs and you're selling them. Any rogue gear that drops you can sell. The big thing to realise on rogue gear is that Neversink still only shows rare rolled gear. So if you are going to be running heist, the first thing you need to do is to create your own filter, and make sure you change the heist section so it shows any gear. I will try to bring the filter blade up to give you an example, and if I'd been prepped a little bit more I would have done this beforehand, but I forgot. So let's find, right, here we go. So here's filter blade, but you've got to scroll down. There's the heist contracts which you can amend, but the actual heist gear is way here. Heist follower equipment. Now if we go in here, you can see these are the cloaks, right? So eye level 83 is the best game. That's the one you want to invest your currency on to roll, and that's just most likely going to sell. But as you can see, rare only, rare only, rare only, rare only. These T3 cloaks here, they're the ones that are level 2 that drop, and they reduce alert level. So what you need to do on your filter is click on the rarity section and change it to range. You'll get that little warning here. There are no unique rogue gear. So you scroll down to normal and set it to normal to rare, and you have to do that on every section. You can't just copy it and then paste it, because the paste doesn't include the rarity. So you literally have to change every single one, and not just on the cloaks. You need to do it on the cloaks, you need to do it on the brooches, you need to do it on every piece of gear in existence. I don't know why Neversink has set it to rare only. It's completely ridiculous. Rare only gear only drops from I level 80 plus contracts and blueprints, so likelihood is you're unlikely to see one unless you're really lucky, if you're running one of the endless heist strategies. So you've got to change the filter. Baylor Mage has included this change on his League Start filter. If you're using Baylor Mage's filters, I highly suggest you do. Other than that, that is the only content creator I know that does this change. Everyone else, if you're following any other filter, even the base Neversink one, don't. It's absolutely horrible for Heist because of this Heist follower equipment problem. Other than that, for Heist you're going to make other amendments, such as possibly turning off all of this lot here. That's just the campaign stuff. You'll need to possibly want to change some other bits and bobs. I used to do a public Heist filter, but keeping it up to date with the changes in the market was a chore. I didn't have it in me, and I was getting some comments that the filter was out of date, so I just deleted it. Maybe in 3.19 I'll have another go at it and try and keep it up to date, but we will see. Right now I don't have one, so it's going to be whatever you want to do. Pay particular attention obviously to unique items as well. You may just want to use the auto sort feature to keep it up to date, because you're going to once you've made the changes to the Heist follower equipment, you're better off probably downloading it here and then keeping a copy on your actual computer. I don't know how this works for those people that are on console. I don't know if you can even know if you can use this style of filter on console. I've got no experience with console, so I'll put that disclaimer right there. This is mainly for PC users for this filter advice. You could sync it with PoE here, and then that'll save it, and then you could share it with other people if you wanted to. But if you're running a high strategy, you're better off doing your own filter, so you can then start only dropping things that you want to pick up, either for your own use or for trading, and that therefore you can make the filter a lot more stricter, a lot more customized, and therefore you're getting in and out of the Heist contract a lot quicker. Don't forget to change your Heist equipment section, and you'll have to do this every league. Every league you'll have to do it, because Neversink can't. I'm not sure which one it is, but they just don't do it. I've sent a few messages to Neversink and the Filter Blade team, and as you can see, it still hasn't changed, and I have no idea why. It is completely redonkulous. Not only that, if it's dropping it to rare, it's going to be rolled horribly anyway, so you've got to scour it before you can even start crafting on it, because most of the time you're going to be wanting to alt or regal it. Getting an item, a rogue item that is rare to drop with decent rolls is unlikely. So most people want to roll their own gear, and for that you need a normal one. Hence the reason changing the rarity to normal to rare, because that covers you then pretty much for the whole league. The only time you then need to alter your filter is if you want to update it because you're fed up of picking up certain items, or items are no longer worth selling in bulk, such as blacksmith stones and armor scraps. At the league start, they're worth selling. Once you get into month 2, not so much, and in month 3 you just turn them off. There's no reason to keep them on your filter. So going back to the actual contract strategies. Get a little bit distracted there. So that's one of them. You just run the contracts, pick up what you get out of the contracts and trade it. The other one is to run into a contract, just open small chests as you're running past, grab the artifact and get out. That is faster option, definitely, because you're not having to spend time opening the chests. I will suggest that on those occasions, currency large chests, div card large chests, and if you're lucky enough, harbinger large chests are always worth stopping and opening. Harbinger chest has a chance to drop exalted shards and other harbinger currencies such as ancient orbs and harbinger orbs. They're always handy to have at league start. Ancient orbs usually sell pretty well anyway because people are trying to get various different uniques. I know people are using expedition to do it now because it's easier, whatever, but ancient orbs still sell nicely in quantity, so you've always got an option. Currency chests should be a no-brainer. All currency can drop from that, including chaos and exalted orbs / shards, and div cards. You never know, you could get a drop an apothecary card from one. Stacked decks count as currency as well, so they'll drop from the currency boxes. And stacked decks are real good for selling in bulk on TFT. I don't know what they're like for selling in trade. If I have stacked decks I want to sell, I just hit up TFT. Usually you can get people buying stacks right up to the last day, stacks of 100 for an X, and you run Heist a lot, you end up with a ton of stacked decks. And then the final option for just running contracts is that you buy contracts, either agility contracts or deception contracts at eye level 81 plus, preferably 83, but they can get expensive. And all you do is you run to the end of the contract, you grab the artifact, set off the alarm, and you run out. That's it. You don't open anything. You won't make as much currency doing it this way, but the sole reason for that is rogue marker farming. So you'll have a trinket that says more markers from the primary heist target or some wording like that, and then you run out the door. It's fast, it's super fast. Deception has no doors on the way out, and deception cannot be interrupted, so you don't need job speed on any of the gear, it's irrelevant. And on agility you can run in, and it's usually only one, maybe two if you're unlucky, beams on the way in, and on the way out you have a cast from damage taken molten shell set up with increased duration, and you can run through the beams. You may have hit your life flask, and you're out. So it is like deception contracts. You just have to have a 2, maybe 3 sockets spare for the cast from damage taken setup. So it and all you're doing is farming the rogue markers. That's it. Bam, 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 bam. You sell the rogue markers, stack of 50k for at least an X if you're not going to use them for yourself. It's nice, quick, easy farm. You don't have to worry about stopping for chests. You're just in and out. It is simple and it's fast. You will need hundreds of contracts for this strategy, which can be expensive, but if you're running that many, you just buy the lower eye level ones. Any contract will do, really, and you're just, because all you're interested in is the rogue markers at the end. Yes, you'll get more the higher the eye level, but if you don't want to invest too much, there's always people selling lower level ones, so just grab the lower level ones for a couple of C. Eventually you'll make your money up anyway when you sell the rogue markers, or you'll save money by not having to buy them because you're firing them yourself. That's the 3 main strategies around solely running contracts. other than the endless heist strategy. Now, the endless heist strategy revolves around getting to a certain level, getting to the point where you have given the staff of purity to innocence in Act 10. You go back to, I think it's called Ruin Square. You talk to Innocence. Innocence blasts the wall and opens up the canal. The quest then updates to say kill Katava. At that point, you are done in the campaign. Your average level should be about 65-ish. At that point, any contracts you have picked up on your way in the campaign, and any you have gone back to the Rogue Harbour to buy from Wakano as you level up, because he resets his stock every time you level, your level changes. You then start running those contracts to level up all your NPC rogues. And once they're all, you run all the contracts, and then you start off with the high level contracts. Once you've done the high level contracts, you sell a Scroll of Wisdom and a Scouring Orb to a vendor. That gives you a Book of Regression. Once you have a Book of Regression in use, the only thing you can do is use it. It cannot be deleted, it cannot be put in your stash. It stays in your character's inventory until you use it, so bear that in mind. Once you use a right-click Book of Regression in your inventory, you will go down to the next level down with 0 XP. So if you're on 85% XP at level 68, you will go down to level 67 with 0 XP. And then you keep doing that. Now, if you're going to run an endless heist strategy, you have to figure out before you kind of start at what level you are going to run endless heist. If you're going to do normal endless heist, that is a range of 66 to 69, depending on what build you're following. I've put out a poison concoction build that requires you to be level 68, because one of the uniques that is used in the build is a minimum level 68, so you're running endless heist 68 to 69. Some people do 67 to 68, and some people do 66 to 67. The poison concoction build I put out doesn't require you to use that level 68 belt. It's just really nice and complements a build really well. So obviously the higher the character level, the more access to uniques, and therefore the more access to rare gear, because the higher the eye level of the gear, the better tiers of modifiers you can get on that gear without crafting shenanigans. Just needed to grab a drink. The reason I say you have to decide what level you're going to stop at endless heist is because once you've attained that level, you cannot spend any more passive points on your tree, because as you level down, you have to have unspent spare passive points. Otherwise, you can't level down. So, for example, say you're level 60. This is outside any quest passive points you'll get. Say you're level 65 and you are on endless heist to 66 to 67. You'll level up to 66. You will sort out all your gear, so it has a max level requirement of 66. You'll sort out all of your gems to make sure they have a max level of 66. And then you start your endless heist strategy. Go to 66 to 67. Once you're level 67, you can't spend the passive point again. So you'll have a free passive point until you get to about 70 to 80% XP. It's a judgment call. If you're doing 66 to 67, you do not want to be hitting 68. So you've got to judge when to level down, so you're not tipping that last level into 68. So at the point where you're at, where you've run the last contract, and say you're level 67, 80% XP, you'll then sell your Scroll of Wisdom and your Orb of Scouring to the vendor, get your Book of Regression, and use your Book of Regression. Wakano refreshes his shop so you can buy more contracts from him, run those contracts so you're not having to buy contracts. In the endless heist strategy, you are usually looking for lockpicking are good contracts. Lockpicking, agility and deception are really good contracts. to pick up all the time. Agility ones, as I said before, cast with damage taken, molten shell. Deception, because can't get interrupted and no doors on the way out. I like, if you're running the Chaos Recipe tool on the Endless Heist strategy, then you can also pick up demolition contracts, because the two large chests in demolition are question mark, which means they can drop any gear you might need, such as weapons and armor, to complete your Chaos Recipe. I set it at 10 sets for Chaos Recipe tool. I'll attach the Chaos Recipe tool video I did at the end of this video, so you can see that, or you can track it down on my channel, either or. To set that up, and so that will get you 20 chaos once you've got your full 10 sets, and it's just currency, passive currency that you can make whilst running the Endless Heist strategy, and you'll be surprised at how much you can make. Just doing that Chaos Recipe tool, it's it's extra currency. Who doesn't like extra currency? So I would mix in some demolition contracts as well, or brute force if you need weapons, because the two last tests in brute force are weapons. So if you need some weapons to fill out your Chaos Recipe tool, lockpicking drops jewelry for Chaos Recipe. Also synthesized jewelry, it's low level, but you never know, some people might want to use it for various reasons, to craft on, or just to at current league recombinate into other things, you don't know. And it can drop some really nice standard jewels as well to use. Lots of options there. I run the baby high strategy when I first wake up in the morning, because it doesn't once the character is set up and it's got a gear level that you're happy with, it is zero further investment. Everything you make is profit. You wake up, you log in, you spend 40 odd minutes just running this strategy. You buy contracts from Wacano, refreshes when you level down, refreshes when you level up. You're not having to trade, you're not having to roll maps, you're not having to buy sextants. It complements any other strategy. It just takes 40 minutes and it allows you to wake up a little bit while you're having breakfast or a coffee or whatever it is you do first thing in the morning, and it just allows, it's a nice relaxing into PoE thing. Or if you just come home from work or whatever it is, you just start your PoE time. Not only that, you can make a ton of currency, because it drops jewel orbs, fusings, chromes, all this base currency that a lot of people want, and then you can whack that on the trade site as bulk. Also it maxes out your Wacano reveals and your Gianna reveals. So if you go on to Blue Point farming strategy, you'll have all your reveals. Every league, halfway through the league, at the most, I've maxed out my Wacano reveals, because he stops at 255. Once you have 255 reveals him, you're not getting any more. So that's another cheap way of doing reveals. I know some people try and sell their reveals on TFT, but this is another way you can earn currency if you can sell them, or you can just use them yourself. So that's all the contract strategies that I'm aware of, or the most popular ones. There's probably a ton more. I remember Grimroad doing a video some leagues ago where all he was doing was buying level 83 lockpicking contracts, running in, opening the two big chests, and running out again, and hoping for exalt shards, exalt orbs. And that was his strategy. That's another strategy you could use. It does require a bit of gear investment and lots of outlay, because you do need level 83 lockpicking contracts. But if you get 2 exalted shards out of both of the big chests, that's 4 exalts. You run 3 contracts like that, that's 24 exalted shards. There's an X. It's taking you 5 minutes. That's another strategy I've just remembered. So there's another one for you. Right. Sorry, I have to take a drink. I'm talking a lot in this video. Let's move on then, and we'll go into blueprint farming. So again, I'll just throw up a little screen so you can separate the video out, and if you want to skip sections you can. Okay, blueprint farming, we're going to separate this into the 4 blueprint sections. You've got enchanted armaments, trinkets and currency as one, unique replicas, and unusual gems or alternate gems. I know they're called unusual gems, but most people refer to them as alternate gems because they're called alternate gems. Enchanted armaments. Eye level generally 71 plus, and all you're after is bases. Now this can require a lot of research because you'll need to look on the trade site, or you'll need to be aware of what people are looking for their meta builds or meme builds. Things like Secrets of Suffering, Scepters are selling really well at the moment. The higher the eye level, the better, but generally I see people using eye level 73 Secrets of Suffering Scepters because they'd rather have the implicit and lower level tiers than not have the implicit and have higher level tiers. It's the implicit they're after. That's one of many. There are other implicits you can get, like the high specific one where for example you can get two-handed weapons with fizz modifiers are extra 8% extra, I think is the implicit you can get. Well, if you get a nice two-handed base with that implicit, you can then sell that, or you can craft it yourself and get some really nice fizz modifiers on there for a PDPS weapon, or even a LE convert weapon, because you know if you roll it fizz, people can use that as an LE weapon, just use conversion, etc. Enchanted armaments are probably the to my knowledge anyway, least expensive of all of the blueprints prior to this video, because a lot of people aren't aware of how to farm them. This is the how to farm them, but you do have to do your research, or alternatively you can use a rotating stash tab pricing policy which Beta Mage invented, where you just dump everything into a stash tab. Eventually it will sell. As a stash tab fills up, you reduce the price of that stash tab, get another stash tab and fill that one up. Generally you require quad tabs to do this, and about 4 to 5 or 6 of them. So this is where PoE really becomes pay to win, because you need to have those stash tabs to run a rotating stash tab strategy. That's the word I was looking for. So that's enchanted armaments. Now trinkets and currency. Now if you get a well rolled currency, you can be looking at multiple exalted orbs worth of trinket. Good rolled trinkets will include things with chance for X to drop as chaos, chance as X currency to drop as exalted orbs. Heist chests have chance to contain more valuable uniques. The best one by far is duplicate basic currency. You can get trinkets with that on twice, and I think this character that's been on screen has one. Let me just see. I know I've got one. I'm hoping it's on this character. Yeah, there you go. Heist chests have a 2% chance to duplicate contain basic currency. 1% chance in heist for basic currency drops to be duplicated. That is awesome. I'm not sure. This character is in standard, because I'll include some. If this video doesn't go on too long, I'll put some gameplay on here. But anyway, Other roles you can get on trinkets that can be helpful to some people: items dropped fully linked. You can get 6 linked chests or weapons dropping as well, which you can either sell for jewelers or divines. Divines, because they could be linked. If they're 5 linked with 6 sockets, there's jewelers, which you can then bulk sell or use or sell as items. Craft of Exile will have a ton of information on what can actually drop on trinkets. And again, bad preparation. I should have had this screen up. So let's just log on to Craft of Exile. There we go. Craft of Exile. We go to Heist. We look at trinkets. Now, all trinkets drop corrupted. You can't roll them. You can't do anything with them. However, it does show you what can roll, and therefore the eye levels as to what can drop. So there it is on screen. So you can go and look at that. This one is a nice one to have. You can buy a trinket, but to get the trinket slot, you're going to have to go to Rogue Harbour. You're going to have to run a Smuggler's Den blueprint. That's the only way to open up the trinket slot. So if you're looking to just sell rogue stuff, you can't have the trinket option. I know some people will buy a Smuggler's Den blueprint, open up the trinket slot and find the cheapest trinket they can find, because then they throw an incubator on it and they're using it as an extra incubator slot. They then block Heist on their atlas so it doesn't drop. Previously they would just turn off all the filter, but that's an option you could do as well if you just want, more incubator stops. But if you want to farm high stuff to sell, you could buy the Smuggler's Den blueprint, enter the Rogue Harbour, open up the trinket slot, get a trinket with this roll on there. But it does mean then that you'll have the green quest contracts dropping. As long as you don't pick it up. Oh, thanks this for a video about Diablo Immortal. As long as you don't pick up that green crest contract, then you won't have to run it. I'm not sure if you can turn them off within Filter Blade. You'll have to find that out for yourself. But that's all the rolls you can get on a trinket. They all are they are all drop corrupted. So yeah, that's another option you can run. Oh, my mouth is so dry. So that's your trinkets. So we've done enchanted armaments, blueprints, thieves trinket, and currency. I have had a 10 stack of chaos orbs as being one of the rolls in there. So that's always it's 10 chaos is 10 chaos. I've never seen an X in a box. Doesn't mean to say they're not in there. It could just be extremely rare. Same goes for mirrors. Never heard of anyone getting a mirror shard or a mirror in a box at the end of one of these contracts, but you never know. Pricing wise in trade to buy / sell them are, again, I don't know, honestly. I'm assuming they would sell on TFT in bulk quite nicely because of the current potential currency drops you can get out of there, or the trinkets. Again, it's RNG. You can go in there and all you have are 20 chance orbs or 20 orgs and really badly rolled trinkets. It's RNG. So all the blueprints are RNG. There's no real way to say how much you can gain from running blueprints alone. So I'm not a firm believer in just running blueprints. I would always have that baby heist running in the background to earn a few more currency and earn my own rogue markers and reveals. So that's these trinkets and currency. We then move on to replica uniques. Now, eye level blueprints on replica uniques is very important. The higher the eye level, the chance and I emphasize the word again, the chance to drop or receive rarer replica uniques. It is only a chance, and a small one at that. I've had some of the more popular replicas, not the most expensive, but some of the more popular replicas drop out of eye level 69 replica uniques and sold the replica for 20c. 20c might not be a much, but on day 3 of a league, to me 20c is amazing. That's a gear upgrade easily, or 40 minutes running baby heist. It's not money that I don't want, it's quite nice to have, so there is that. But if you're looking for the high priced items, replica Farrell's Fur, replica Soul Tether, generally you're looking for that higher eye level, 81 plus minimum, to have that chance of getting the higher level uniques to appear in your blueprint. Other than that, it's completely RNG. Now, with all blueprints, I should have said this at the top, I apologise, you've got options in the blueprint. You can just run to the end and see what the reward is, grab it and run away. That's it, done. The other option, bit like contracts, you can run in, open any of the already revealed blueprint rooms, so you're not having to spend markers on revealing the blueprint, you're not having to spend reveals, you just run it as it is without revealing anything. You run it in, you grab whatever chests you can, get to the end, grab the item you want, run out. You got the other one, bit like contracts, where you're just looking for div cards, Harby chests and currency chests, which you then reveal, open on the way in, run out, get the end reward and run out. And then the other one is where you really sit down and you scrutinize how much you can get out of this blueprint. You're looking at each individual wing of the blueprint, seeing what abilities are needed. So if you get a demolition, you know you can open 2 chests after lockdown with a level 5 brute force tibs. If you're using Niles, he's got an extra 1 chest after a wing, so if the wing has demolition and counter thorn, that's 3 guaranteed chests at the end after lockdown. If you're using Tulina, that's more or less alert level. It also depends on the gear your rogues are running. So with either great luck on RNG and getting the gear to drop, or mass amounts of currency investment, you can make the alert level of chests being opened very low and a lot of chance of costing you no alert, and you really are getting every little piece of profit you can out of each wing of each blueprint. The downside of that is you will rip through reveals, you will rip through rogue markers. The average cost to fully reveal a 3-wing blueprint is about 25,000 rogue markers, give or take a couple of thousand. But the reward of fully revealing that can be massive. You could walk out of that 1 ring of that blueprint with 3 to 5x, excluding whatever the end result is. But again, it's RNG. You could spend all the markers, all of these reveals, spend half an hour maxing out everything, doing all the calculations to maximize every chest, open every single chest, open all the last chests you can without setting off the alert level, picking up your end item, running out, getting the 3 chests because you're running a level 5 brute force tibs and Niles, picking those 3, walk out the door, and you end up with 20c. Because the end reward you got was a low level Altaria gem or a useless replica unique, even though it was the best choice there, and you dropped nothing on the way out. It is complete RNG. some content creators are putting videos out saying guaranteed 10x per hour running blueprints. You can't guarantee that. You really can't. It is all RNG. Unless you are specifically on trade or in TFT looking for very specific blueprints with currency, div cards and or Harby large chests. But even then, you cannot guarantee the amount of currency you are going to walk out of that blueprint. It is complete RNG. You can have the best build for Heist, by the way, there isn't one, the best set of gear on all of your rogues. You could reveal everything on a blueprint and you're still not guaranteed to walk out of that blueprint with an X, let alone 5. With that very downer comment, moving on to the last blueprint and the one most people will be running, unusual gems, alternate gems. All the previously mentioned strategies apply to these ones. These by far are probably the most profitable. You are almost guaranteed to walk out with at least 10C. And the reason I say that is because most you usually get, I think it's between 4 to 6 cases holding alternate gems. Or if you're lucky enough, an orb. Tempering orbs are also can be found in blueprints as well. They're quite rare, but you could find them and they can sell for multiple X as well, depending on the league mechanics, etc. But alt gems, when you're pricing up an alt gem, always look for 20% quality gems. If you do not sell alternate gems for with less than 20% quality, unless it's one of the high priced ones, you're unlikely to sell it. Another reason why, when I'm running a Heist strategy, I set my filter to include any gem with at least 5% quality on it, because that way you can amass these quality gems, sell them to the vendor for GCPs, and then if you're running an alternate gem blueprint, you can use those GCPs you've made to increase the quality to 20%, which increases their sell value. The actual level, it doesn't really matter. People are expecting alternate gems to be level 15 to 17-ish, or level 1, depending. But again, that comes down to the league, what's meta, what's meme, what people are looking for. It's you're gonna need pricing alternate gems is probably the worst. I've heard rumours that Awakened PoE Trade can do it, but somebody in the TFT Discord Heist discussion channel mentioned that they can't. It doesn't. So I'm not sure what to believe anymore, because I was told it could. A certain command on the most up-to-date Awakened PoE Trade can scan alt gems inside the cases and give you a price. Probably search internet and find out. Alternatively, it is going to be the hard slog of either using the PoE Trade website and search for each individual gem, or PoE Ninja and search on there as well. Whilst you're inside the heist, because you don't know which gems are going to be there, so it's pointless searching beforehand. You might as well just see what's in there, have a quick flick. It should only take you a few minutes. Remember on PoE Trade to set the gem from default. Just drag, where's the trade website? So I've always got this open in a browser. So on the show filters, go to miscellaneous. So when you're searching for alternate gems, you go corrupted no. I never risk corrupting gems. If people want to buy 21/23, let them buy your gem and then let them varl it. Quality minimum 20. Gem level minimum 15, and then here gems for quality type anomalous, divergent, phantasmal, superior. So if you've got 6 gems there and you've got 3 anomalous, 2 divergent and a phantasmal, you do the anomalous. Search for the gem name. I don't know. Let's do precision. Whack. Do a search. There you go. 6x. Right, nice. That's cool. Okay, let's have a look for a divergent one. Boom. 30C. And is there a phantasm? Well, I don't know. No, there isn't one. So what you would do is you will search all the, if you've got 3 anomalous, you'd search all the anomalous ones. So we do precision, I don't know, brutality support, anomalous, 7C, and then finally we will do clarity, boom, 120C. And then you'd then come down here, you'd change it to divergent, search for your 2 divergent ones, malevolence, bam, 20C, determination, search, 6.5x, and then finally be careful of the level. Alright, 16 is still 6.5x, and then finally phantasmal is the last one. Your 1 phantasmal, ancestral protector, boom, 85C. So if there's your options, you can already see which one you're likely to take, but that does take time. As you see, it takes a couple of minutes to do, but it's worth it. I don't know how fast PoE Ninja is at doing this. I don't use PoE Ninja to price things in current game market. I always use the actual PoE trade website. I just find it easier and faster. So that is your blueprint farming strategies. I'm pretty sure I've probably missed something. But I know that's the ones that I would look out for. Now let's get on to the next section of this guide, and that is probably the most important thing. I know that was a long pause, but that was trying to emphasize how important it is for you to research a build if you're going to be doing any one of these heist strategies. So let's have a look at builds. Now if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I have suggested lots of different builds for Heist. Some of them I have tested, others I haven't. I haven't got POB open, so let's just open POB. There we go. So the most, in my opinion, the easiest one to run, and I know a lot of people don't like it for whatever reason, is a Toxic Rain Raider using Toxic Rain Totems and Caustic Arrow. So let's go through some of these, shall we? That's the level 59 to 60 baby heist character. There's all the notes on how to level it. All of these notes are with a League start in mind. We've got a tree here with all the different levels. The leveling skill trees are all done with a very end game role, including anomalous. You cannot use awakened gems on this level of character, they are too high. Suggested items for various reasons. I've got a video that goes through all of this, and this just is a very quick run through. So that's level 59 to 60 Raider. When noting the Pantheons, please note that the only on this character doesn't ever get into maps, ever. So you're only interested in the top line. So for Soul of Naris, it's the physical damage reduction. That's it. The lines below that, chance to avoid projectiles, reduce elemental damage taken, avoid projectiles that have changed, are completely irrelevant. I have sent messages to the POB Fork team asking them to allow us to turn off the upgraded Pantheons. So far, it hasn't gone through. So, and then obviously with this Soul of Abrath, it is the 6% Restoration is probably the best one. So that's that one. This is a Toxic Rain build with Corsic Arrow. You then have my high or normal level Heist Strategy, Endless Heist Strategy. This can then go on. Wow, what is wrong with YouTube today? Leave me alone, I'm recording a video. Gee whiz, I turned that off. This character can do the Baby Heist Endless Strat. It can then go up around here to do the normal Endless Heist Strategy. It's not included in this tree. And then all the way up, all the way through to high level heisting, blueprint farming. This one is really set up to do blueprint farms. Again, skill trees from League Start, suggested items as well. All the notes how to level it up on League Start as well is on there. Again, this is fully covered in other videos I've done on my channel. Goes really in depth with gameplay. This is the build that is on screen. You've seen me move, etc. This is Guitaraholic Scion build. They are a Twitch user in the South African streamers Locahole and Sniz. He hangs out in there. He's also in Sniz's Discord channel. This is his build. He farmed a Headhunter and a Mage Blood on this character using this build for the last 3 leagues without a problem. That's his build. There's a list of skills that he did. Suggested items. There's no notes. Oh, there is. He's done some notes. I didn't think there was, but there is. There's his notes on there. I haven't really touched this at all. It's his POB. I haven't play tested it either. I don't know how it runs, but it looks really good in POB. Excuse me. Now, this blueprint runner one here, this is for the run in and grab the end reward for blueprints. That's it. That's all it does. It runs in, gets to the end of the blueprint, picks up the reward, gets out. It doesn't pick up any chests. This build is not designed for that. This build is solely for running to the end of a blueprint, grabbing the reward and running out. So we've got move boots, we've got frost wall for stopping monsters getting up to you, we've got a 6-link body armor. These are the 5 must-have auras, with 1 extra. You could drop vitality and throw in a purity of elements there. A standard cast when damage taken molten shell includes Dura life tap setup, and I've put in ice chop, but technically this is any damaging skill, any damaging totem, just to keep mobs busy / dead when you're opening doors on the way in. There are these are the items. These are the kind of exact items you need for the fastest movement you can get. This is 400% move speed, and I don't think that's right. I think it's actually higher than that. You're rocking 110k evasion, but it is very specific gear. You can't league start this character. You could roll a Toxic Rain Raider into this build, but you do need gear that can be quite rare to get hold of, such as a String of Servitude with a movement modifier. So yeah, there's no notes on this one because you shouldn't be league starting this. It's a character you Orb of Regret into, or you it's a second/third character and you've got the currency to throw at it. You've got a Mage Blood Raider here. This is the Raider I showed you last time, but it just has a Mage Blood in it, and therefore the gear has changed. I know this one has an Ashes of Stars, but if you can afford a Mage Blood, you can probably afford an Ashes of the Stars. And that's just set up, the tree and the flasks and the gear is set up with having the Mage Blood in mind. Similarly, if you can afford a Mage Blood, you can probably afford the Forbidden Gems. If you're lucky enough to get a Mage Blood drop, or from Gwennen, you might have to change this path of building to suit where your current currency spending. So yeah. And then this is the latest one I've added to the list. This is the Poison Concoction Raider. I did level this up myself. You can see the videos of me leveling this up. We've got the tree here. This is all leveling trees I did. And you can farm. This character doesn't usually kill at 10 Katava, but again, personal decision. There's all the skills, how I leveled it through. Items, and again all the item lists are here, and there's all the notes as well. So that's the builds I can recommend. I have play tested the Poison Concoction, the High Level Heister, and the Endless Heist or Baby Heister thoroughly. They all work, they all do the job as is. Feel free to use any one of those. There are other options. You can use a Death's Oath Occultist. You can use a Inquisitor Righteous Fire character. They're not going to have the speed as the Rangers do, because if you're, sorry, I should say the Raiders, because you're not going to have the perma-phasing and perma-onslaught. They're a lot slower, but they have the deeps. They kill everything. So having the fastest speed isn't really relevant because they just walk in and kill everything. If you want the speed, you're better off going with a Raider or a Pathfinder possibly. Some people prefer the Pathfinder because you get all the flask nodes and therefore your flasks going off and you can get the Quicksilver running, etc, etc. Or alternatively running one of the Ranger Ascendancies and then buying the unique gems for either permaphrasing or perma onslaught, but I believe they're quite expensive, so that's a thing. Any totem build will work. I'm currently running a Hierophant Dex stacking cold convert damage siege blister, and that does really nicely in Heist. Everything gets annihilated. Speed is again an issue because it's not a ranger, but it kills everything. So speed / DPS, it's got the only one of those I have mentioned that has tanky issues is the Death's Oath Occultist. The tank issue can be an issue, but if you've invested properly, then the damage of the Death's Oath or Aura kills everything. So there isn't some tanky rares will get through, but that's why you have the Caustic Arrow and they die from the Caustic Arrow. So it's more damage more than survivability. Softcore way, more deeps. I can recommend any of those builds as well. There are other builds that people use. I know some people use EA totem builds, but complaints again that it's slow. Most of the non-ranger builds that either do some sort of auto bomb, such as or like RF, Death Oath, Herald of Thunder, auto bomber, any of those, Ward Loop, any of those could do heist. You're just lacking speed, and the more speed that you have in heist, the quicker you get out and the more profit you're going to make. So there's that disclaimer. Any advice you want about builds, options, etc., please don't hesitate to join us. TFT Discord, Heist Discussion Channel. I'm there most of the time. That's where I hang out a lot. You can get me on Twitter, YouTube, as you're watching YouTube, Gar412 everywhere. So that's all the builds I can recommend and comment on. There are probably 1,000 more that people are using that just hasn't reached my desk or knowledge. And that's really all I've got to say on builds. So we move on to kind of, I think, the last thing on the list I want to go through, and that is rogue gear. This is an Excel document, but I have this on a Google Doc. I will share my info sheet below, which has got all the links, etc., to it, to all the things I've mentioned. Oh, there is one thing I want to show as well, if I can find it. Come on, where is my file? There it is. This is the most up-to-date cheat sheet info we have. That there hasn't really been a 3.18 one, but as far as I know, nothing has changed. So this is what you can find if you're running these abilities. Now, what I want to say is, before your main priority, if you're running a serious high strategy, is to get Tibbs to level 5 brute force, because then he can open 2 chests. It doesn't matter what level his demolition is. In one league, I got him to demolition level 4, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't open 2 chests. He has to have level 5 brute force to open 2 chests after lockdown. That's the main caveat I have on this. But you can see what large chests you can expect to get out of these contracts. The most useless, unless you're running the high level heist, the 66 plus endless high strategy, generally the most useless are perception, because it slows you right down, because you're having to do with the alert towers, unless you want to risk it and just run through them. I've done that a few times. Counter Thorn, just because of the time it takes to get through the rooms that have the thaumaturgy runes on the floor, that does a ton of damage. Trap disarmament, yes, you got breach, yes, you got legion. They don't drop their emblems or full-fledged stones a lot, and therefore you compare that to having to put up with talisman, weapons, armor, or abyss. It's not worth it. Same with engineering. Yes, you can get map frags and maps dropped from there, but it's not compared to the others. Deception is the best, because you get your div cards chance. I love running agility contracts because you get currency and harbinger, and with a cast and damage taken molten shell setup, you can run through the beams of agility on the way out, so it's almost like deception. Demolition can be quite nice because you've got blight and metamorph, and you got delirium, so this is another one. If you're going to do that, invest heavily in Tibbs demolition. Tried to get his job speed up a lot. I wouldn't use Vendiri in contracts. Blueprints, yes. Contracts, no. So you're going to want to run some demolition and trap disarmament contracts, and kind of know you're going to possibly miss out on some profitability because of the amount of alert that he actually generates. But if you're going to go on to a blueprint farming strat, you're going to need to level all of these characters up to level 5 in everything, because you're going to come across blueprints that will require level 5. There's a caveat to that, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Lock picking can be handy because of the currency and fragments. Other than that, that is all the rewards you can get from a main chest. Small chests are a bit random. They don't always match the large chests, but there we go. So on this sheet, I've gone there and I've named all the rogue NPCs. Put here what damage type they use for their weapons. Now, it doesn't matter what weapon type they use. You just need a level 5 one on the rogues you are planning to use in your strategy. Apart from Huck, which is level 3 max. And then obviously if you're using Tibbs to do demolition, then he can only use level 4 gear. He can't use the level 5. So there's some caveats. So I've listed the main skills. Now Vindiri has 2. He maxes out level 5 in demolition and traps. Gianna can run deception, perception, and I think it's counter thaumaturgy. But obviously deception is our main one. And if you want to farm Gianna reveals, then any deception, perception, or counter thorm contract will help you out. Just be aware of her skill level. I think it's 5 deception. I think it's level 3 perception and level 2 counter thorm. I'm not sure on perception and counter thorm. I don't use her for that, but if you want to farm Gianna reveals, that's the way to do it. So that's their main skills and their damage type, so you don't have to go looking for it. As again, the weapon type doesn't actually manage because the damage they do is not why you have them. But if you do want to be a bit pedantic and really max it out, then just match the weapon type to the damage type here. These are the tools that they're going to need because they are restricted to the character name. Once you get into level 5, so for example, if you get a Master Lockpick, which is the top tiered tool, only cast can use it. Same with Steel Bracers, Tulina, Soul, etc, etc, etc. With Vindiri, again, like I said, he's got 2, but Grandmaster Keyring is possibly the best one. It depends what you need him for. So he's the one you'll almost need 2 sets of gear on, just in case you come along on those level 5 trap disarmaments in the blueprints you are farming. So Vindiri is the worst one to gear because you'll almost need 2 sets of gear, mainly for the job speed. But again, there is a caveat to that as well. So this is the suggested rolls on gear. I've amended this a lot based on what people have suggested in the TFT Discord Heist discussion channel. And again, this is personal opinion, personal experience, and down to the strategy that you are running. If you are running a baby heist strategy, none of this matters because you are limited to the level 2 gear, or the lowest tier gear that drops from the 59 to 60 contracts, and you have to make sure that the gear isn't red. I'll show you an example in a minute in game. So on the brooches, for max rolls, you're looking for an eye level 84 foliate brooch. I love job speed and then duplicate base currency. So you would alt spam for duplicate base currency, org for something useful if you want to max job speed, and then regal for something. And if you've got the currency, slam it. Or you can buy it from trade. Like all of this stuff, you can buy it from trade. It will be ridiculously expensive pre-rolled, but you can buy it from trade. Cloaks, eye level 82. I prefer move speed when not in lockdown as a prefix, because that way you're getting to where you want to get to quicker and it can't be interrupted or anything like that. So that's nice. Or job speed. Suffix, chance to not generate alert or reduced alert level when opening chests. It depends which one you get first. It also depends on how much currency you're going to invest in this gear. So there's that as well. And then again, you're alt spamming, you're alt org spamming, and then regaling, and then X slamming if you want. Tools. Now this is where it comes down to job levels. As I mentioned earlier, only Tibbs can get to demolition level 4, and Vendiri is the only one that can have demolition level 5. Travis Thomas, blah blah. This is where it can change, because if you have the currency to buy or roll your tools, which is this lot, you can end up with plus level to level of all jobs, plus level to the job of the tool. So for example, Cast can get a master lockpick and have plus 1 level to all jobs, plus 1 level to lockpicking. That gives him a level 7 lockpicking. Well, why would you want more levels, Garth? Job speed. That's why. That's why. So it can be really hard to roll plus 1 level to all jobs. It's only really matters on characters that have got multiple useful jobs, and to me that is Tibbs, because I like using him for demolition. I really don't like using Vendiri, even in blueprints. I want to open chests. My strategy for blueprints, if I'm not maximizing profit, is to open as many chests and really max out that alert level. I'm the person that will spend 25,000 ragging markers on one blueprint to unlock stuff that's relevant, and go in there and open as many chests as I can, then get the last reward and walk out with a 2 or 3x worth of gear. That's what I like doing. So Vendiri doesn't help that. Yes, he has a chance to duplicate, and if you get really nice gear and you get everything with reduced alert level or chance to not generate alert level, then it almost makes up for the extra alert level. But if I had a Tibbs with level 5 demolition or a Vendiri with similar gear investment and levels, I would still choose Tibbs. Why? I can unlock 2 chests after the alert level. That means if I'm walking into a blueprint ring that has large chest, currency, div cards, harbies, I can open all 5 of those. All 5 of those rooms, that's 10 chests. Because I've got reduced alert level, so I'll be able to open at least 3 of the rooms before maxing out my alert level. Get the other one at near the end, once I've chosen my end reward and clicked on it once, then go back, open up the last 2, run, pick up my reward, run out. Tibbs opens the last room with his 2 chests. I've got all the chests, maximising my chances of getting profit. Vendiri can't do that. You can open half the number of chests with a chance of duplicating something. And more often than not, it's the something that you don't want. You get 2 exalted shards and he doesn't double it. You get a stack of armor scraps. He doubles that. You've got 40 armor scraps. Well done. Vendiri is my favourite character for his speech and his background, but his actual in-game mechanic, personally, for me, it sucks. I very rarely use him. That's my thing. Right, finally, let's get on to the weapons. Now, most of these weapons can't roll anything that's great. I will normally go for job speed and flask charges gained, because having more flask charges means you can use them more often if you're not using the enchantment reused at max. Most of my heist characters are evasion stacking, so they don't get hit. So I end up going for increased duration prefix rather than the gain X charges when you're hit. Because if my characters are working properly, they don't get hit. So I'd rather have the increased duration than roll the enkindling orb, increased duration, and then get extra flask charges gained. But that's only on arrowheads, which is kind of a bit of a bum. But if you stack every single one of your characters with arrowheads and you don't care about the damage type, you can get flask charges gained on all of your characters. You also have this option of running auras. Now, depending on your build, depending on how useful these auras can be, in League, my Gianna has a Discipline aura just to give me that extra energy shield for anti-stun purposes, and it's quite nice. The range of these auras are pretty bad, so if you're moving quite fast like all my heist characters are, then half the time they're not even in range. But still, it's a free aura, and there's not much else that I can see on Craft of Exile of prefixes that are really worth it. So it's going to again come down to your own research and personal preference on what build you're using, what auras you can make use of, and what you really want to get. And then for me, the perfect trinket is something like this. Chance for augmentation orbs to drop as chaos. It's got a high probability, and augmentation orbs drop really regularly. I don't want alt drops as chaos because alt or alteration orbs are quite expensive on trade usually, regardless of league. So augmentation orbs are quite cheap on trade, and they drop loads of them all through the game. So that's why I chose that one. Items drop fully linked is quite nice. When you get that 6 linked item, you can then, if it's not corrupted, you can scour and craft it and sell it, or you can vendor it for a divine orb. I know divine orbs can be, with current passive, divine orbs are easy to get hold of if you're using a particular passive tree, but you know, whatever. And then this is one I would prefer to have. Chance to contain more valuable uniques and duplicate basic currency. The reason I've got this one is because I like collecting uniques in my standard stash tabs. So the more valuable ones I can get, the more chance I've got of getting that task completed, because I'm a collector. If I was running it for profit, I wouldn't have this trinket. I would go for one that has chance for X to go to exalted orbs and double duplicate basic currency. So like the one I've got equipped on my current character here, which is heist chests and high currency drops, and then there will be something to drop as exalted orbs. But as these trinkets are all corrupted and there's no way to roll them, it is completely RNG, and if there was ever one like that for sale, it will be multiple tens of X, I would assume, because it is ridiculous the amount of profit you can make for having a contract like that, trinket like that. With that in mind, I think this video is nearing its end. I'm not going to include any gameplay because this video is already an hour and a half, and I think that is sufficient to go through everything. For heist gameplay, I have other videos on my channel covering various different strategies and how to stop clicking on them, thank you, on how to do heist in various different ways. This is more of a going through every strategy I can think of at the time, plus notes I've made previously, and most of the most common options you have. As I said, if you have any more questions, want any more help, you can DM me on Twitter, comment on this video, or drop into the TFT Discord server in the Heist discussion channel. I'm there as well. If you are a member of the TFT Discord channel, or Baylor Mage's Discord, or Snizz's Discord channel, you can also DM me, because I have it open that if we share a server, you can DM me. That's how you can contact me. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you in the next one.